Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good to see some of you all here again. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Deepam, and I'm the Center Manager for Serangoon and Sengkang Learning Center. I shall be your MC for this afternoon. Should you have any questions relevant to the webinar, we would appreciate if you could post some of your questions on the Q&A feature below of your screen. Our Q&A session, roughly, as you know, some of you all, is roughly about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of our session. Our speakers are actually from the DAS Academy and our learning centers, and will be answering your questions live. If you are interested in any of our courses or workshops to this talk, we will be featuring some upcoming courses, and links also will be posted in the chat box later, right? Without any further ado, do sit back and enjoy as our speaker, Ms. Siti Asjamiah, will be starting. All right, over to you, Siti. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on English exam skills, which will focus on the editing section in English paper 2 and time management. Okay, I'm Siti Asjamiah, lead educational therapist based at Tampines Learning Center, supporting both supporting students on both the MLP and Prep 2 PSLE program. Apart from that, I'm also an associate lecturer with the DS Academy. Okay, so PSLE is just about a month from now. I am sure that all P6 students sitting for the exams must be dutifully revising. So it gives me great pleasure today to be sharing with you some tips on how you can support your child and learners in the editing section of English paper 2, and how you can help them manage their time in the exam. Okay, so this is what I'll be covering today. The first half of this session will be focused on the editing section of English paper 2. We all know that owing to their spelling and language processing difficulties, students with dyslexia struggle in this section of the paper. So today we'll be looking closely at the question format and how students can actually apply some of the phonics rules and concepts that they have learned in the MLP program in correcting some of the misspelled words, and how we could also support them in learning to spell some words which may not be phonetically regular. So what I hope to do is to leave you with what your child can do and what you can do to help your child manage this section. Okay, the second half of this section will focus on how you can help your child or learners with dyslexia manage the time duration given for English paper 2. Okay, so let's first look at a sample of the editing section of the Foundation English paper. The grammar and spelling editing portions in the Foundation paper are actually segregated. Okay, the one on the left here, section F, okay, requires students to just focus on making corrections to the grammatical errors. Okay, the one on the right, okay, requires students to just focus on rectifying spelling errors. So a total of 6 marks for each section. Okay, so now let's take a look at a sample of the editing section in the PSLE standard paper. Okay, as you can see, it is a much longer text with a total of 12 boxes altogether. So the 12 errors marked by the underlined words below the boxes consist of 6 grammatical errors and 6 spelling errors. So it will be extremely helpful, okay, if students are able to identify, okay, which are the spelling errors and which are the grammatical errors. Okay, so since this section, okay, comes in the form of a passage with several paragraphs. All right, so it is very important that students make it a point to approach and process the passage in the same way as they would a comprehension passage. Okay, so what this means is that they need to read the whole passage at least twice, okay, to get the gist of the main ideas and identify contextual clues, okay, which would then be useful in helping them make sense of the erroneous words and figure out how they should be correctly expressed or spelled. All right, as there are 6 grammatical errors, and 6 spelling errors that they should be looking for. Okay, students need to determine and decide whether the underlined words are grammatical errors or spelling errors. Okay, so what can they do? Okay, if they think that the word is something that they have seen before or looks right in terms of how it is spelled, it is highly likely, okay, a grammatical error. Okay, grammatical errors usually target word forms. Okay, what this means is the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, the adverbs. Okay, usually either a suffix has been omitted or the wrong suffix has been used. So students need to have a strong awareness, okay, of suffixes that would change words into different forms. Okay, other grammatical concepts tested would be tenses, the use of tenses, subject-verb agreement, singular subject with a singular verb, plural subject with a plural verb, articles and the, as well as conjunctions. So once they are sure that it is a grammatical error, mark it with a G. Okay, if the word looks strange and maybe out of context, okay, it is highly likely a spelling error. Okay, we can mark it with S, just like what I have done here. Okay, so there should be a total of 6 spelling errors identified altogether, right? Okay, so now based on our analysis, okay, spelling errors in words could target a number of things. Okay, the complexity of English orthography, okay, demonstrates that the same sound could be spelled in different ways. All right. So one of the phonics skills that students are frequently tested on in the editing section is the ability to apply multiple spelling of the same sound in words, particularly that of vowel sounds. Okay, so there are short vowel sounds and there are long vowel sounds. All right. So today we will just be taking a look at the many different ways each of the long vowel sounds can be made. Okay, let's start with the long vowel A. Okay, if you look at the red letters in some of the words, okay, these actually represent the different ways the long A sound can be made in words. So for long vowel A, there are actually 8 different ways, as you can see there. Okay, in the sentence, Amy ate steak on a gray, rainy day with 8 reindeers. Okay, I would like you to pay special attention to the vowel pairings in words. These are also called vowel teams and their position in words. Okay, some examples of these are EA in the word steak. Okay, it's in the middle of the word steak there. EY saying A at the end of the word gray. AI also saying A in the middle of the word rainy. AY saying A at the end of the word day. And EI also saying A in the middle of the word reindeers. Okay, so some vowel teams are located in the middle of words, some are located at the end of words. So remembering the position of these vowel teams in words may help the learner in deciding which one to use. Okay, so next we have long vowel E. Okay, 8 different ways also. So again, focus on the vowel pairings, the vowel teams, and their position in words. So vowel teams are actually formed with 2 adjacent vowels. All right. A potential source of confusion, okay, is in deciding whether to use IE, saying E in the middle of the word peace, and also EI saying E as well, okay, in the word receive. Okay, because both of them here are located in the middle of words. Okay, a guiding strategy that learners can use is if they see a letter C before the E sound, they should be using EI. Okay, for letters other than C before the long E sound, they can use IE. Okay, of course, there would be exceptions like the word weird, which is spelled W-E-I-R-D, okay, instead of C, right? Where EI is used after W. But what would be worth noting is that about 80% of English words are quite consistent with the rule. So learners might just have to bear in mind this few exceptions, all right? Now, these are the rest of the long vowel sounds. Okay, long vowel I has 6 different ways. Okay, long vowel O has 5 different ways. Okay, vowel U makes 2 long sounds. Okay, the U as in rescue, the new and cute, unicorn in Europe. So the vowel pairings or the vowel teams that make the U sound are UE, okay, at the end of the word rescue, EW at the end of the word new, and EU at the beginning of the word Europe. Okay, and then we have long vowel U saying ooh as well. Okay, as in rude. Sue had flew and drew a fruit in a book. All right, here we have vowel teams UE saying ooh, also at the end of the word Sue. Okay, EW saying ooh at the end of the word drew. UI saying ooh in the middle of the word fruit, and OO saying ooh in the middle of the word book. Okay, so now let's take a look at some sample questions and how knowing the position of vowel pairings or teams can help. Okay, let's say we have this sentence: my father called for the waiter to take our food orders. Okay, upon examining the contextual clues, since it has to do with food order, okay, definitely you will be dealing with a waiter. All right, so the error could lie either in the first syllable, way, W-E-Y, or second syllable, ter, T-E-R. Okay, if you look at the first syllable, okay, it ends with EY, saying A. Okay, but EY in the word gray, okay, is placed at the end of a word. So the use of EY saying A in the middle of the word waiter is erroneous. The learner should then look for a vowel team that has the long A sound, okay, in the middle of words. Okay, of course, there are a number of words with vowel pairings in the middle saying the same sound, such as EA saying A, AI saying A, and we have EI saying A. Which one would the learner use? Okay, so a lot actually depends on his or her visual memory or familiarity with the word. If not, then the learner, if the learner is able to relate that the word wait, you know, wait, W-A-I-T, is spelled with A-I, A in the middle, then AI should be the correct one to use. Okay. Another sample question we have is the boys were playing football at the field. Okay, here the word field is spelled with vowel team EI. All right, so if if the learner knows that if he or she sees that the letter C, okay, before the long E sound, should be followed by EI, then he or she would then choose IE, since it is also located in the middle of words. Okay. All right, so other than multiple spelling of vowel sounds and consonant sounds, there are also multiple, so other than multiple spelling of vowel sounds, there are also multiple spelling of consonant sounds, all right? So a good example is the J sound, okay, J, the consonant J. There are actually 3 different ways that J can be spelled, but it would be helpful if the learner can remember the spelling rules associated with each of the spelling of the J sound. If he or she is able to apply them, then it would definitely help the learner. Okay, learners would in the MLP program would have learned these rules in his classes. All right. So letter J, the first rule. Okay, letter J cannot be used or cannot be found at the end of words. Okay, because no English words end with letter J. Next, we have DGE also saying J, okay, as in bridge, okay, which can only be used or found at the end of a short word immediately after a short vowel, okay. And then we have letter G also saying J, but only when it's followed by letters E, I, Y. So which means that in order for G to be able to say J, the letter just after it has to be either E, I, or Y. Okay, a useful key phrase to remember is gentle giant jogs in the gym by the bridge. Okay, so this would remind the learner of the rules. Okay, let's say we have this question. Okay, he had to climb out of the window and inch his way slowly to the next ledge to escape the fire. Okay, the word ledge should rightfully be pronounced as ledge because of the silent E there. Okay, the silent E makes the vowel E in the middle say E. Okay, but looking at the context, okay, it should be pronounced as ledge, ledge. Vowel E in the middle there saying eh, the short vowel eh sound. Okay, since the vowel sound just before the j is short as in eh, okay, we should therefore be using DGE, okay, instead of GE, since it is a short word. Okay, let's now take a look at the second sentence. The baby penguins took a plunge into the water for the first time. Okay, so looking at the context, the learner would know that we are looking at the word plunge. But if the learner knows that no English words end with letter J, then he or she can immediately recognize the error. Okay, so other options of the J sound would be DGE or G. But looking at the word, okay, the letter right before the J sound is a consonant. Okay, it is not a vowel or short vowel sound. Okay, as such, right, GE should then be used. Okay, instead of DGE. Okay, so other than multiple spelling of vowel sounds and consonant sounds, learners are also tested on their awareness of common spelling patterns. Okay, so for example, ALL saying all can be erroneously spelled as AWL or AUL, simply because AW and AU, which also happen to be vowel pairings or vowel teams, also say all. All right. Similarly, the spelling pattern ALK saying ok have another way of spelling, which is OCK ok. All right. So it as in stock. Okay, so we also have spelling pattern ALT alt saying ALT saying alt in the words such as salt, malt, halt, even alter and alternate. Okay, which can be similar to how the word fault is pronounced. So in the word fault, the alt sound is made by AULT, right? Yeah. Okay, so if faced with such a situation, then the learner would have to depend on contextual clues. Okay, there are also 3 ways to make the shun sound, SION, TION, CIAN as in magician. Okay, and these other spelling patterns that can be erroneously spelled as well. So if they can take note, if you can help the learner take note of such errors, it would definitely be very helpful for them. Okay. Okay, another potential source of confusion for our learners is homophones. What are homophones? Homophones are actually words that are pronounced in the same way, but spelled slightly differently and having a different meaning. Okay, so for this, you may want to use concrete means to help your child tell the difference. Okay, so for example, how do we tell the difference between stationary, spelled with ending with ERY, and stationary ending with ARY? Okay, one example is to make reference to writing materials. Okay, if you are referring to writing materials, you could perhaps use the example of an eraser. The word eraser begins with ER. Okay, so if reference is made to writing materials, then the child should be using the word stationery ending with ERY. Okay, as for stationery ending with ARY, perhaps you can also use an example of a car. Okay, the word car ends with AR, right? So if the child is referring to vehicle that is stationary, then the child should be using the word ending with ARY. Okay. In the when you're trying to distinguish between meet, MEET, and MEAT, perhaps you can use the word eat, EAT, to pair with the word meet, MEAT, to distinguish between them. You can also use the word ear, okay, as in ear, to help the learner tell the difference between HERE and HEAR. And you can also use a pair of eyes, okay, to help them distinguish between the word SEA and SEE. So the two E's represent the two eyes, all right? Okay, so what if you have words that are phonetically irregular? Okay, what you can do is to try to break down the word and create hookups or links, just like what you see here. So for example, to remember how to spell the word laugh, okay, LAUGH, we can probably attach a word to every letter in that word that the learner can connect with. So laugh is, how it is spelled is laugh, and you get happy. Okay, and to remember how to spell biz in business, okay, and to avoid having to spell the biz as BIS instead of BUS, maybe you can say, oh, we need to take a bus, okay, to do business. All right, and in order to remember how to spell the word special, you need to remember to bring your CIA agents. Okay, likewise for the word familiar. Okay, you can probably say, oh, that liar looks familiar. So you combine liar with family. Okay, you take away the LI and replace that with LIAR. All right. Okay. There are also memory strategies that you can use to help learners retrieve the correct spelling of words. What you see here are actually three particularly challenging words that learners with dyslexia often struggle to spell correctly. Okay, so one of them is the word necessary. They may be unsure how many C's and how many S's go in that word, right? So there are two ways to help them. Okay, firstly, you can use mnemonics. Okay, as you can see there, they can use the phrase never eat candy, eat strawberry salad and rice yogurt. Okay, you can see that at every beginning letter in each of the words actually form up the word necessary. Okay, and to help them remember how many C's and how many S's to write, perhaps you can say, oh, it should be spelled with one color representing one C and two sleeves representing two S's. Okay, similarly, some learners may be unsure how many C's and how many M's go into the word accommodate. Okay, so you can use the phrase accommodate with 2 cows and 2 mice. So 2 C's and 2 M's to help them remember. Another frequently misspelled word is believe. Okay, many of them tend to spell it as believe as in BELIVE. Okay, frequently omitting the E. Okay, perhaps we can say, don't believe in a lie. Okay, to remind them that the word lie should come after B. Okay, and before VE. All right. Okay, so now let's move on to time management. Okay, we are all aware by now some of the challenges that learners with dyslexia and SPLD have with planning and organization. Students with SPLD will therefore benefit from being given advice and being shown, modeled, okay, how to plan time use in exams, like how much time they should spend for every section of the exam paper. Okay, so this is where it is important that both parent and child work together, okay, to work out and conduct simulation exercises. Okay, what parents can do is to record how much time, okay, your child needs to complete a particular section, okay, and then adjust the recommended time accordingly to suit your child's needs. Okay, you can actually begin with just one section first, okay, and then gradually increase the number of sections and time duration. All right. Once your child has grown in confidence, okay, allow him or her to practice the full paper for each subject before the actual exam. Okay. It is also important for you and also the learner to be aware of his or her own strength in the paper. Okay. Examine each booklet and the sections, and maybe you can get them to rank the sections according to what they feel is easier for them to do first, all right, or they feel that they are more confident in. Okay, maybe as a strategy for learners, we can encourage them to attempt stronger sections first. But this again may vary from learner to learner. Some would actually prefer to do challenging sections first, okay, before doing stronger sections. It would be best if they can be encouraged to experiment at home, and so that they can actually determine which one works better for them. All right. It will also be a good idea for you to also simulate exam conditions at home. Okay, this can be quite stressful for them, but it actually would help them handle and manage stress and potential pressure points. Okay, at any point, at each point of the exams, and as they are navigating through the different sections in the paper. Okay. Okay, so the English paper 2 time duration for standard paper is actually a total of 1 hour and 50 minutes. So we are really talking about a total of 110 minutes. So looking at, so if you were to divide it between booklet A and booklet B, maybe we should be spending not more than 40 minutes for booklet A, and the balance of 70 minutes for booklet B. But this is just a recommendation, just a suggestion. If the learner is able to complete booklet A in less than 40 minutes, so that more time can be spent on booklet B, by all means, right? Now for booklet A, there are a total of 4 sections, right? As you can see here, this is the MCQ booklet. The duration spent on each section here, as indicated, is actually just a suggestion, okay, a rough guide for your learner. Okay, so to ensure that the child is able to monitor the completion of every section, okay, you may want to try using a visual tracker, okay, where the child draws a symbol, okay, to represent the completion of every section. Okay, say for example, once the child has completed the grammar MCQ, maybe he or she can draw a stroke. Okay, upon completion of vocab, draw another stroke. Upon completion of the vocab clause, draw another stroke. And maybe upon completion of the visual text, he or she can draw a symbol or another stroke. Okay, do remind the learner that as long as there are questions, or he or she has left some blanks in any section, he or she cannot draw the symbol. Okay, this is to remind the learner that he or she has to go back to the unfinished questions. Okay, so if what if the learner doesn't like to draw? Okay, he or he doesn't know how to draw. All right. So another one alternative is to just use the beginning letters of each section. That means have acronyms. Okay, invent acronyms, devise acronyms to represent each section. So maybe for grammar, we can have G. Okay, for vocab V, and then we have vocab clause as VC and visual text as VT. So each time the learner completes any of the sections, okay, he or she can actually cancel. Okay, so this helps the child to monitor the completion of the sections. All right. Likewise for booklet B, there are 5 sections to be completed. So let the learner think of a picture to draw that has maybe 5 strokes or 5 symbols, okay, to represent every section that is completed. Okay, so for example, so there are 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are looking at a shield here. Okay, so once you get a shield, the learner will feel very accomplished. All right, so it means that he has completed his mission. All right. Okay, so learners with an official diagnosis would usually have the recommendation for extra time as an exam accommodation mentioned in the psychological report. Okay, so if they are granted the extra time, do make it a point to teach him or her how to use it meaningfully. If you're unsure about how much time the learner is given, you can actually check with the relevant school authority, the child's form teachers or the AEDs. So for paper 2, 1 hour 50 minutes, generally about 20 to 25 minutes extra time is given. Okay, so if you want to break that down according to booklets A and B, we are looking at allocating maybe 5 to 10 minutes of checking for booklet A, which works out to about 2 minutes of checking per section. There are four sections, so maybe about 2 minutes, and a balance of about 15 minutes for booklet B. So we are looking at spending about 3 minutes to check each of the 5 sections. Okay. It will also greatly help the learner if we can avoid using very generic terms like check for grammatical errors, check for careless mistakes. Okay, because checking for grammatical errors, checking for careless mistakes can essentially mean anything and everything to them. So that's why most of them tend to just happily flip the pages as a form of checking. Flipping the pages to them is checking. Okay, so what they're telling you is that they're not sure exactly what to check, exactly what to look out for. So if you want the learner to check for grammatical errors, do be very, very specific, okay, about what kind of grammatical errors you are referring to. Okay, ensure that it is something that they can manage, something that they can agree on, and something that they are willing to practice. Okay, so you can identify what is called the top 3 common errors that they tend to lose marks easily in if they do not pay close attention to them, such as putting maybe full stops, copying errors, not beginning sentences with capital letters, or maybe subject-verb agreement. Okay, where possible, use acronyms to help them remember the things that they have to check. Okay, if not, they can also use symbols that you see in the domino there. Okay, the top portion reminds them to check for to check for capitalization, to remember to begin sentences with capital letters. The bottom one is to check for full stops, the use of full stops. Okay, have the learner draw the symbols or write the acronyms in every section that they attempt. Okay, insist that they check for these items and tick against them before moving to another section. Okay. Okay, so when it's time to check, your child could also switch pens. Okay, so this puts them in a different perspective from a test taker to a test checker. Okay, if they do not want to use different colored pens, they can use a different type, a different make, or a different brand of pen to represent the checking pen. The checking pen can also be marked with a special label. You know, you can have your sticker labels marked checking, okay, checking pen, okay, to and stick it to the pen. All right. They may also indicate the self-checking strategy of the top 3 hits, you know, the acronyms with regards to what they need to check for in every section of the paper before attempting it, just like what I've mentioned. And if they have marked certain questions they are unsure about, circle them, okay, to indicate these are visual markers that will tell them that they need to go back to them and utilize the extra time to attend to them. Okay. All right. So I think that's all I have. And I've come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for your attention, your time, and your patience. I hope this session has been helpful and you have managed to gain some takeaways. I'll be more than happy to answer questions if you have, and I'll try my very best to address them. Thank you again.
Thank you, Siti. Thank you, everyone. And I hope you had a fruitful understanding of this session. Before we start the Q&A session, we would actually like to give a few minutes to value your feedback. On your screen, as you can see, we'll be sharing the QR code for your feedback form, as well as links to other sites for your reference. Yeah, please do spare a minute or so to complete this feedback for us. Okay, besides the form, we will be sharing a bit about the upcoming courses by DAS Academy, in which we will stay back after the Q&A session to answer your queries. If you're interested to sign up for these courses, please listen to, I'll be going through some of the courses later. You can actually think about it and ask us questions at the end, okay? Now we shall go to our Q&A session. Hi, Siti.
Hello.
Our Q&A will roughly take about 10 to 15 minutes. You may ask any questions relevant to the session and we can do our best to answer as much as possible. Now we have with us as Ms. Siti, Lead Educational Therapist at the DAS and Associate Lecturer of DAS Academy. Besides teaching, Siti conducts workshops, courses like this, catering to parents, educators, and members of the public wishing to know more about specific learning difficulties or differences. Okay, today Siti will help us address some of the educational questions, and I will be being able to help out with queries pertaining to our learning centers. So let's begin. Siti, maybe you. Yes.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Dee. Yeah, okay, we have a question here. Okay, it says, the first question we have is, what is the top hits mentioned? Okay, actually the top hits refer to what we call the top 3 errors, okay, that your learner tends to make in the exams. Okay, when we're talking, when we choose the top 3 hits, okay, we have to really zoom in on what your learner can manage. Because if you are looking at spelling errors can be a top hit as well. But you know, spelling errors can be very, very stressful for them. So avoid spelling errors, checking for spelling errors as the top hit. Okay, try instead to choose those that your child can manage, something very simple, such as maybe capitalization and checking for whether your learner has put a full stop at the end of a sentence. Okay, those are errors that they always make, but will actually save them marks, okay, if they pay attention to it. Okay, so do be very, very selective about the top hits that you want them to attend. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Okay, we have another one that says, can you share the rules for using IE and EI? Yes. Okay, from the video, okay, I mentioned about the confusion that learners can have, when to use IE, when to use EI, because they both sound the same and they are both found in the middle of words. Okay, so one tip is if the child sees that the letter right before the E sound, okay, the E sound is a letter C, then they should actually use EI instead of IE. Okay, all other letters, okay, other than C, they can actually use IE. All right, with the exception of some words like I mentioned, like the word weird, right? It's spelled W-E-I-R-D, but those are just a few exceptions. Okay, so you might want to just highlight these exceptions and yeah, just for your child to just pay special attention to in case they come across it in exams. Okay,
Siti, there's one quite interesting here.
Yeah.
If there are so many steps to remember just to do checking, right? Isn't it more complicated for the students who are already having poor executive functions? And she has a point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Try to make it, like I said, try to make it manageable. Okay. For students with very poor executive functions, precisely they need they may need visual strategies, okay, to help them self-monitor. Okay. The key here is make it simple, make it manageable. Okay. You might have to pick and choose. Okay, which ones you would want the child to check for. All right. So when you say here, if there's so many steps to remember, just to do checking. Okay, so you're referring to checking strategies. Okay, yeah. So just be very, very selective about what you want them to check for. Make it extremely simple. Okay, and make it extremely visual as well, so that they can self-monitor. The purpose is to develop their self-monitoring skills. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. May I know what strategies to use if a child is unable to spell the correct word correctly in the editing section, even after applying the spelling rules, or is unable to even figure out what the nonsense words are in the editing section? Yes, I do agree. Yes, the editing session is extremely challenging, okay, for our students. Sometimes they may not even realize, or they can't tell if it's a grammatical error, is it a spelling error? The error, I mean, especially if they've not seen the word, they can't tell whether it's a grammatical error. So my advice is to just leave it. Okay, don't spend too much time mulling over whether it is a grammatical error or a spelling error. Focus on words that they are familiar with. Okay, focus on words that they are familiar with, and just if it's this section is actually a hit and miss, you can never predict what they're going to give you. So my advice is just to focus on what they already know, okay, and what they are familiar with. Okay, yeah, okay, right. So how to teach them to differentiate stall versus still, stall, or shun versus shun. Okay. Right. So actually, what I have compiled in my slides, the shun, S-E-H-E-N versus S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, and C-I-A-N are actually what we have actually come across as questions in the editing section. So what examiners will actually give, okay, in the questions is the wrongly spelled version of the word. Okay, so you know, shun, S-I-O-N, okay, it's phonetically not regular, right? So what the examiner is trying to test the student is whether they are aware of the spelling pattern. Yeah, so knowing the spelling patterns, for example, knowing that S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, C-I-N also says session, okay, will help them to identify that S-H-E-N is not right. It does not look right. So it can be either, so the correct way to spell is S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, or C-I-N. But even then, they will have to decide which one, all right? There are rules actually to determine whether to use S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, or C-I-A-N. Okay, but then again, that one would have to be taught in the MOE program. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Siti, I just want to say, we are maybe coming to the end of our Q&A session, so do feel free to put in. We have maybe a few minutes left before we answer this parents' question. We will be wrapping up with the last few questions, right? If you're unable to answer, as I said before, if they're short of time, not to worry. We will definitely get back to you by email, right? Or you can just put it in our Q&A or feature session. We will be collecting all questions and replying by email if you can't actually put it in the Q&A, all right?
Sure.
So there's one more question that's there. Siti, maybe you want to, yeah.
Okay, are there rules for long U and short? Yeah, so vowel team OO actually has two sounds. One is the U and U. Okay, one is look, okay, and yeah, look, book. Okay, those are the short U sounds. All right. So how do we know? Really, it depends on how familiar they are with the words. But usually, in the exams, in the editing section, they wouldn't really, because OO actually it has two, it makes the same sound. It's just a matter of pronunciation, whether it is extended or not extended. Okay, so don't worry too much about OO. Okay, it makes the same sound either ways. All right, so the spelling should be consistent. All right, yeah. And then spelling for belief, a rule breaker, Okay, this one, all right, this one is not really a rule breaker. It is actually phonetically correct because IE says E in the middle of words. Okay, so so the word belief is actually phonetically regular, right? Yeah. Okay, so what is a practical tip for checking comprehension closed or open-ended sections? These two sections carry these two sections carry 15 and 20 marks, which is bulk of booklet B. Therefore, can we teach them some skills on how to check their answers? Appreciate your advice. Okay, comprehension close. The open-ended comprehension close section is another challenging section. Okay, okay, for comprehension close, the child will need to approach it the same way as a comprehension passage. Okay, when approaching the comprehension close, the child will need to process it exactly the same way as a comprehension passage, read through, okay, to get a sense out of what the passage is talking about. Okay, look for contextual clues. All right, so it's only, okay, the other tip I can give is when examining, when deciding on which words, what kind of words to fill in the blank, they might have to have a strong awareness of grammatical concepts, grammatical clues. Okay, like for example, the concept of a sentence structure is made up of a subject, verb, object. So if let's say there is a blank in between, okay, in between maybe the S and the O, okay, they will know that, oh, right after the subject, they will need to put a verb. Okay, so yeah, so for comprehension clues, other than contextual clues, the learner will have to be aware of grammatical clues as well. Okay, so grammatical clues is something that you can teach. All right, so if you want to know more, you might want to take part in our exam skills workshop, okay, which is coming up. Okay, I'll share with you more details on that. All right.
Thanks, Siti. Thanks for.
Thank you.
We have more or less come to the end, but Siti, before we head off, right? In today's talk, would you like to give, whoever's attending this talk, some tips that they can take home, very pertinent ones, right, from your talk just now? I know you've been giving here and there a few things, but just for viewership, maybe if there's some things that you can take home from today's talk, what would that be?
Okay, maybe my advice is, especially for those who are sitting for their PSLE exam very soon. Okay, just
around the corner, right?
Yeah, right. So just try not to stress yourself too much. Okay, having to revise. Try not to cram too much into them. Okay, do make sure, just provide them with simple tips, such as when approaching the questions. Okay, read through. Just remember to read through, and provide them with very, very simple strategies to help them decide on the answers. Okay, and apart from that, do teach them time management skills like the ones I've shared with you. Okay, if you remember, I've talked about the how to manage extra time, right? So you can actually incorporate part of the extra time into the strategies as well. So you can actually put all the acronyms of the self-checking strategies, okay, into every section, so that they by the time they use up all the extra time, everything would have been checked already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Siti, and
no problem.
Thank you. We've come officially to the end of the Q&A session. All right. Okay. Now we'd like to share some courses, the 3 DAS courses that are relevant to this webinar. As you can see on the screen, you may also want to visit our DAS Academy website for more courses. But due to the time today, we will only be sharing the upcoming 3. Okay. Like you can see now, the first one, supporting your child in English examination skills. It's going to be held on the 18th of September. Registration closes on the 15th of September, which is, you've got roughly a week and a half, all right? Now, this particular talk, right, is going to be, participants will be examining various components of the English language paper 2 through unpacking the intricacies of various components by simplifying them into simple and manageable steps. Sounds interesting. All right. Now, the second one is even more interesting, using assistive technology to support children with learning differences. Now, that's going to be held on the 25th of September, and registration closes on the 22nd of September. Now, with this one, the workshop provides a fundamental understanding of how assistive technology helps learners aging from 11 to 16 with learning differences to be more independent in their classroom and exam environment. And lastly, the certificate in dyslexia and literacy teaching. It'll be a 4th of September to the 9th of October, and various dates will be placed in, right? For this particular course, registration closes on, which is actually finished 1st of September 2021. Now, this is interesting. I've taken this course before. This course is designed to give both professionals and family members a valuable overview of the common learning differences called dyslexia and how to support students with dyslexia through conceptual teaching, planning, and lesson delivery. Okay, now, as I said before, you can actually go to the website and find out more courses, upcoming courses that are coming in, okay? With all these exciting courses that DAS Academy has to offer, do post any questions that you have for us to address to you, okay? If you are unsure about how to sign up and would like us to explain more about the course, we will be there later for you to ask these questions too. Okay, while we're waiting for your response, right, we'd like to share how you can get some grants and discounts from some of these courses. If you are practitioners in the field of specific learning differences and education, we could encourage you to join RETA, which stands for Register of Educational Therapists Asia, an initiative by the DAS to bring together SPLD practitioners. Teachers and allied educators can certainly qualify to be a RETA member. However, the good news is that you don't necessarily have to be a practitioner to be a RETA member. There are different levels of membership. Regardless of membership level, RETA members get to enjoy a 10% discount on courses and workshops conducted by the DAS Academy. To find out more about RETA, you may visit www.reta.sg. Okay. Next, we'll also like to share about the Caregivers Training Grant. This is something important and is a grant to support caregivers of any persons with disabilities, right, or learning difficulties in attending training. Now, the amount of grant, right, is about $200 per care recipient. The 200 grant can be utilized, for one, to attend any of the CTG approved training courses over the financial year at any VWO. Okay, that's good. By different caregivers of the same care recipient, right? Validity is from the 1st of April all the way up to the 31st of March the following year. Okay. Payment required by the caregiver is just a co-payment of $10. That's a steal. Subject to the balance of course, the CTG that's there. You may go to the DAS Academy website to learn more about certificate courses, workshops, and the CTG grant that we just mentioned. Okay, I've got another 2 more announcements to make, which may interest you. Yes, we are looking forward to the DAC graduation ceremony that's going to be held on the 15th of September from 9:30 a.m. all the way up to 11 a.m. We would like to invite you to come and attend this and join this joyous celebration with us, okay? It's live stream on the DAS Facebook, so please join us, right? Next, of course, we're looking forward to a month, the World Dyslexia Awareness Month. We call it the WUDO, right? And you can refer to our website shown here. There's a QR code for more information. So do come and look forward to some of the activities that we have during the WUDO month, all right? With that, thank you, everybody. We've come to the end of our talk for today. Thank you for being attentive and, of course, being such wonderful participants. Okay, we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you. Stay safe and stay happy.